Welcome to the Calexico City Council, Calexico Redevelopment Successor Agency, Calexico Financing Authority, special meeting agenda. Today's Monday, June 27, 2022. It is 5:01 p.m. And I will have roll call. Mayor Javier Moreno here. Mayor Pro Tem Camilo Garcia.
Here.
Councilmember Raul Ureña. Councilmember Gloria Romo.
Here.
And Councilmember Rocio Ariola Fernandez.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Call to order. Due to the declaration of emergency, this meeting is being held pursuant to AB 361, approved by the Governor of California on September 16, 2021, and some or all City Council members may participate in this meeting by teleconference. Pursuant to Imperial County Public Health Department guidelines, City Council meetings are now open for public attendance at 100% capacity of the council chambers. Public participation will continue to be available in the following ways. Members of the public are encouraged to watch the meeting via live stream at http://communityspectrum.org live at 5 p.m. or via the Calexico City Hall Facebook page at www.facebook.com/cityofcalexico.ca. Members of the public will be able to make public comments in the following ways. In-person comments. Submit public comments via email by 1 p.m. or on Monday, June 27, 2022, to our city clerk at email gggarcia@calexico.ca.gov or via fax to number 760-768-2103. You may also make public comments via Zoom from a PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or Android device. The telephone number to dial is 1-669-900-6833. The webinar ID number is 834-4096-3895, and the passcode is 324496. And now we have the approval of the agenda. So moved by Mr. Romo.
Second.
So moved by Ms. Romo, second by Mr. Garcia. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Nope. Motion carried 5-0. Thank you. Public comments and public appearances, not to exceed 3 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the City Council on the special agenda items only. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name and place of residence for the record. While members of the public are encouraged to participate, it is unlawful to disturb or delay this council meeting with personal or slanderous remarks. City Council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not included on the printed agenda. Please direct your questions and comments to the City Council. Do we have any public comments? You have a public comment, sir?
I'd like to ask, why isn't there an agenda in Spanish?
Okay, our traditional way, we do the English agenda, and we do translate it in Spanish via Zoom, but we are working eventually towards that in the future to address it in Spanish. Right. Yes. Is that your public comment? Yeah, you want to come up here and make it for the record? I appreciate that comment, by the way. Yes. Thank you. You do have one? Okay.
No, I just
Just say your name and address.
Oh, my name and address?
Uh-huh.
Okay. My name is Armando Marquez. And I live
Just and then come close to the microphone.
my name is
Thank you.
Armando Marquez. I live at 1233D Hinojosa Street.
Okay.
I'm just unaware that there isn't a Spanish version of this, because there are people that come here that only speak Spanish, since
Sure.
we are mostly a Spanish-speaking community. So, at least for the next meeting, we could at least have a separate forum, for Spanish speakers or people that only understand Spanish. That would be very helpful. A lot of people would understand more, because a lot of people don't use social media. They can't read the articles, or you have a lot of old people in the community. I'll say that. So. It's not their fault, a lot of people didn't learn Spanish.
Yeah.
They learn English, so I know my grandmother never did. Yeah, it just be more. It's very more. It's more inclusive. I'll say that. It's
Sure.
more inclusive to the community. That's why I'm looking with the comment. So maybe we
Right.
could move forward.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your comments. So, an online comment or public comment?
This is actually a comment for the budget in support of an allocation.
So item 2?
Do you want me to go ahead and read it now?
Yeah.
Gabriel Duron, Commissioner for Parks and Recreation Beautification, writing in support of Measure H Committee's recommendation of allocating $100,000 to the Recreation Department. The heart of the city is its community, and providing these funds to recreation brings this money to programs for our community of all ages, include your youth and seniors and those with disabilities. That is-
That's it? Okay, thank you. Okay, now our next item is consent agenda. And we have one adopted following resolutions of the City Council of the City of Calexico. Calexico relating to the November 8, 2022 general municipal elections for the City of Calexico. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Calexico, California, calling for the holding of a general municipal election to be held on Tuesday, November 8, 2022, for the election of certain city officers as required by the provisions of the laws of the State of California relating to the general law cities. B, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Calexico, California, requesting the Board of Supervisors of the County of Imperial to consolidate a general municipal election to be held on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, with the statewide general election to be held on the same date pursuant to Section 10403 of the California Elections Code. And C, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Calexico, California, adopting regulations for candidates for elective office pertaining to candidates' statements submitted to the voters at a general municipal election to be held on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. Motion to approve by Mr. Ureña, second by Romo. Was it Camilo first? Second by Mr. Garcia. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? No? Okay, motion carried 5-0. Thank you. Now we're here to discussion and potential action items. Number 2, adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Calexico approving the budget for fiscal year July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023.
All right, good evening, Honorable City Council, Mayor, and for the public that is watching via our social media platforms, and for the staff that's here. Tonight, in front of you, presented to you, is the request to approve the 2022-2023 budget as presented in the 3 previous meetings that we've had. We've been working hard on getting this budget ready to present to you guys. I believe we've included the community on a couple of our meetings that we've had. We've had 3 of them all together. This will be our 4th one today. So the goal is to pass our budget for 22-23.
Mayor, I have a speaker for him. He's online.
Okay.
Hi, hello everybody. My name is Alexis Castro, and I'm calling in regards to item 2. Hi, hello everybody. My name is Alexis Castro, and I'm calling in regards to item 2. Hi, hello everybody.
Can't understand what he said.
Sorry about that. I didn't realize I had the Facebook still on. But I was calling to comment on item 2, particularly just asking for the council to provide more accessibility and information regarding a lot of the budget presentations that have been going on. The last budget presentation, there was a bunch of PowerPoints, and those PowerPoints haven't been posted online. We've had to take screenshots of the PowerPoint and go back in order to make sure, that the information that's being presented is accurate. And so to the extent that the council, can make sure that information is provided ahead of time, it would be greatly appreciated, just because it makes it difficult for us as community members to be able to engage and provide comment. And, especially when, a lot of these decisions are happening in an inaccessible time, like 2 p.m., right? I appreciate that this meeting was at 5 p.m., so more folks can make it. But as you can see, I'm sure folks are still, barely getting out of work. And so to the extent that we would make, we can make these meetings more accessible, so that this could really be a conversation between the community and the city council, right? I don't think this conversation should happen between the city council and department heads, right? Otherwise, what's the point of having a public hearing on it, right? So would appreciate you filling that request. Thank you.
Hey, Gabby, what was the name on that one?
Alexis Castro.
Alexis.
I also have Daniela Flores online.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, members of the council. My name is Daniela Flores. I am a community organizer and advocate with the Imperial Valley Equity and Justice Coalition. I'm calling in today on behalf of our coalition to really express some concerns for the discussion that's taking place today and the discussions that have been taking place around the budget. As a person that works full time, I agree with the previous comments. It is not accessible to have meetings at 2 p.m. From what I saw, only one member of the public joined that meeting in person. So that should be an indicator to this council that it is not acceptable to hold meetings at that time if you hope to engage the community. I would also like to share that as you all have been having these budget discussions, there's so much history and how decisions have traditionally been made when it comes to budgets. As I reviewed those priorities that have been laid out for the 2022-2023 year, I noticed that there's 33% for police, 30% for fire. And I really just want to express my concerns with the fact that housing and public works are so low in terms of your priorities. I really would want to ensure that the community's priorities are reflected in, and please do stop me once I'm over my time. Gabby, if you want to put on the chat once my 3 minutes are done, I will go ahead and stop at that point. But I really want to encourage this council to transform the way you have, and really others before you who have set precedent for how these budgetary decisions are made. I want to encourage us all in the spirit of collaboration that we focus on ensuring that you have pillars of transparency, community engagement and input, and accessibility at the forefront when making these budgetary decisions. I encourage you and really urge you to reflect the community's needs that have been voiced time and time again in this council meeting and in other meetings, about what they want to see in the community, not even what they want to see, but what are the needs that are preventing their communities to both survive and to thrive. We want our communities not just to survive, we want to ensure that youth have a place to, an outlet to recreate, have things to do that help them develop into, citizens of this community that can contribute and also just live a healthy life. So again, I'm going into a tangent on here, and I'll just wrap up shortly. And just to say, my hope is really that we don't rush into decisions without hearing from the community first. And you all know that I'm a partner to the city, and we do what we can to ensure that we elevate the community's voice. So I really do encourage you to continue having this dialogue, make it more accessible, make it in the language that people understand, and hold yourselves to respect the equitable allocations that have been made in other funds, like park funds, or even just the American Rescue Plan Act funds. I really do urge you to stick with your commitments of equity, and I hope that you'll carry those through as you make those budgetary decisions moving forward. Thanks for your time, and again, I will continue to show up as much as I can, and really do encourage you to make them as accessible as possible, because I know it's really hard for folks to engage when one, I can't even see right now anyone that's on this meeting. It's a webinar format. So anyway, thanks for your time, and yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you. That's it? You got one more. Okay, go ahead. You want to speak?
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Gilberto Manzanares.
Start. Yeah.
Ahora sí. Okay, mi nombre es Gilberto Manzanares, and I wanted to comment on the possible budget que la ciudad está adoptando aquí, o que quiere adoptar, está planeando. Una cosa es de que me acuerdo muy todavía, and it seemed so like it was yesterday, but it's already been almost like un año y medio ya, de las 2020 elections, ¿verdad? That Calexico voted for a change, ¿verdad? That was like the thing that a lot of people voted. I see 3 new council members here, including Mr. Garcia, that wasn't part formally of the other council, ¿verdad? Only one of you guys have actually been in the previous council before, elected. Pero if the council passes the budget the way that it is, it doesn't differentiate at all from when Hodge was sitting there, from when Pacheco was sitting there, from when Kim was sitting there, ¿verdad? At all, ¿verdad? Most of the budget todavía se está yendo a los same departments. Entonces, ahí me pregunto yo, entonces, ¿de qué se trató el cambio por el que votaron los ciudadanos? ¿Verdad? Like Daniela mentioned, el budget refleja las necesidades and the direction that the council is going to take for the city. I don't see a difference at all, la verdad. I'm a little disappointed, la verdad, in this council and the budget that I'm seeing. Sí entiendo que hay necesidad en todos los departamentos. Obviously, I can see that a lot of money is going to just 2 departments, leaving housing, leaving public works, solos. And then también so eso nomás quería mencionar. De este concilio al pasado, yo no miro ni una diferencia. Pacheco might have been sitting there and nobody would have batted an eye, la verdad, to this budget. También en la junta pasada se mencionó about utilizing los ARPA funds. I just want to let you know que hablé con los business owners de downtown, each and every one of them, First, Second, and Third Street. And you can ask them, they'll tell you, they might not remember my name, but I most surely spoke to every single one of them. Como el 95% no se da los 3 million, but now they know, ¿verdad? Now they know that you guys voted, including you, Rosie, the ARPA funds are allocating $3 million in its entirety to downtown rehabilitation. Antes no sabían, but now they do. So ese es un compromiso que ustedes hicieron con su voto a la comunidad comerciante de Calexico. And each and every one of them expressed gratitude. And a lot of them, no me tiraron a loco because of the loss of faith that la comunidad comerciante ha perdido en la ciudad de Calexico. So if you go back on your word, that's just going to continue to deteriorate the relationship que downtown tiene con Calexico. Even worse. De por sí, les digo, ya no me tiraban a loco. Ah, siempre dicen lo mismo y se lo terminan gastando en otras cosas. Y pues, ¿cómo culparlos? That's exactly what's going on right now. You made a commitment, and now ya se está escuchando que no, que es que ocupamos esto y esto y esto, y ahí se ve el dinero. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Gabby, we don't have anybody. No. Okay. There's discussion?
I do have a question just right off the bat, Mr. Mayor, if I may. So I did watch the meeting via Facebook, the last one that you guys had for the special meeting, and I noticed at the very end you gave direction to the city staff to write a continuing resolution, and I see a resolution for adoption. My question is, why would that direction not follow?
So yeah, we have that in preparation. If the ask was there for to continue it, we have that ready.
What does that should be made public ready, because that is a backup document to this, and we need to be transparent about what we're voting on. So I haven't even seen the continuing resolution. Do you have it on hand so I can see it?
We can get that. Just remember that when we present an agenda, I am doing off of request and from the mayor. This is what he saw. This is what he approved, and this is what was posted. If you need that, we can get that for you for sure. We can have that. I just won't be ready for tonight's presentation.
Just for the purposes of this meeting, would we be able to adopt a continuing resolution today, or would we have to wait?
I can ask. Can we technically adopt it tonight and then wait?
Because we would have to do it before the 30th.
Do you have a resolution prepared? No.
We can have that done though.
By when?
I don't know, Gabby, what do you think we can get that more or less? Yeah, and we also need to know the findings of why we're asking for that, the criteria of why we're asking for a
So we couldn't take a recess and come back and draft it? We couldn't do it tonight?
No, it wouldn't be ready tonight, no.
So
It wouldn't be ready tonight.
I guess any more time?
Sure.
And I just want to know for purposes, why are we asking for this? If they're continuous, like just so I can make sure that we document what we're
Sure.
asking for the continuance.
Let me clarify this, because I wrote something to that effect. I remember asking for the continued resolution because, so here's as a foundation for your question. The annual budget that we adopt represents a plan for conducting the financial affairs of the city for the fiscal year we're in. It is anticipated the overall operation and capital budget may be delayed because of unforeseen circumstances, which may result in adoption at a later date. That's what the continued resolutions are for. We understand that the continuous delivery of public service that include water distribution, sewer collection, and public safety are of value to our community. While the interruption of services is not desirable, and the City Council recognizes that ongoing expenditures are required to continue providing public services, City Council through a continuous resolution will authorize, because I know there's been a lot of concern about what's going to happen, who's going to get paid, will authorize interim expenditures at the levels established by prior approval, budget, fiscal budget, overall budget, to allow payments of routine expenses, including payroll and vendor commitments. Now, if there's something that, and I did bring it up last time, if there's something that needs to be brought up, and I think you mentioned that needs to be paid, it needs to be brought to the City Council for approval. Anything beyond that. So, to clarify a couple of things, the reason we're asked for the continued resolution, because I don't think we were in agreement last time that the budget is ready to be approved. And as a matter of fact, I think Brawley is going through the same thing. So a continuous resolution doesn't hinder anything, because we still work on the previous budget. That's my response to that.
It is pretty common for agencies of governments at all levels, when they can't agree on the budget or there's circumstances, to have a continuing resolution to continue paying staff as they fix the budget. I think if you want specific reasons to put in the staff report, I would submit these 3 reasons for consideration. The first one is what the public has said, not enough engagement, not enough accessibility. The second one is, yes, we've had 3 to 4 meetings, but the budget has barely changed. So at this point, and brings us to reason number 3 is, we need the guidance of the incoming city manager. I think we'd be able to work more efficiently and just take our time with the budget without hindering the current operations of the budget. I would submit those as a suggestion for the staff report. It is the 27th, so if we're going to adjourn to write this thing, it would be, the meeting would have to be noticed tonight or tomorrow night to get it on the 29th, 20th, or 30th with the thing written. And I'll go ahead and...
24 hours, right? It's
24 hours.
24 hours?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
was
Oh,
my
pen-
suggestion.
pen-
You could
pending
continue
the-
this one like till tomorrow night if you wanted to.
Would it be best for the time of writing tomorrow or the day after? How much time do you reasonably
How much
need?
time would you need for that?
So
How long would it take
can
for you guys to get that for us?
we recess and then come back until it's done? That's
Yeah,
what my question is.
that's a suggestion.
Right,
Yeah.
instead of doing another meeting, right, we can recess.
And if I may also, to do what you're suggesting, Raul, I know community engagement, it's not gonna happen in 24 hours. So we just have to make sure that whatever we're asking, right, we're satisfying that the request for this to be put together. And not just to be put together, but then also to make sure that whatever points you're asking to be considered, that there's plenty of time. That if we're gonna come back and continue this meeting in a day or 2, well, chances are that community feedback is not gonna be there, right? So let's just be cognizant of that, and that we don't have to continue to be pushing this back. And now that other, point that you bring up, with the new city manager coming in, well, we know that, based on what we already approved, that won't happen until at least another week or so. So we're looking at more than just a couple of days. We're looking at a week. So let's just be again cognizant, and we need to make sure that we check with legal, we check with whatever statutes we need to follow to be able to continue to operate and continue to pay the bills, because I don't want to jeopardize any type of services or processes that need to take place. So with that, I just want to make sure that we get clear direction, clear information. The direction, we're going to provide that with the clear information that we should be getting from staff and recommendations. So if we can be specific, so that way we don't find ourselves 24 hours, 48 hours later in asking for more. That's just, that I want to say.
I definitely hear what you're saying. There's just one part that we have to kind of separate. So the purpose of the continuing resolution is to say we're going to continue operating under the previous budget for a specified amount of time, whether it's July 31st, July 15th, August 15th, whatever it is. We set that date so that things continue under the same budget while we make changes. And we can decide to continue to extend the continuing resolution, but it's specifically for that. But I'll be very specific. I'll formalize it into a motion at this point. Yes, of course. I would make a motion, if it's appropriate, make a motion to continue this meeting until tomorrow's June 28th, right?
The 29th?
Until the 29th, just to give you that day to ask legal and everything. I'll make a motion to continue the meeting until June 29th. It sounds like from the public they want a little bit later, so 6 p.m. would be good. With direction to draft a continuing resolution to continue the fiscal operations through July 31st using last year's budget levels with a pause on all capital expenditures. All capital expenditures should come to council in that period to be approved while we fix the entire budget. That would be my motion.
So, students, you're recommending for all city staff to come back with a new budget?
No, we, as legislators, we're gonna do our due diligence, do a deep dive on the budget, and see what corrections we have to make on both the capital and operating side. That ARPA is a capital expense, so paused unless there's a proposal that comes to council. Is there a second?
Well, let me go back to your motion, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure that, again, staff, as soon as possible, looks into the legality of, not legality, but the details of your motion also, because on the continuous on being able to pay the bills and being able to meet the deadlines and through guidelines established for us to have an adopted and approved budget. Mm-hmm. So all of that, and if they find something, for us to be notified as soon as possible, right?
Yes,
so we can act on that also. And then on your capital improvements, I do agree, except that if there's an emergency, that we should have access to fix whatever needs to be fixed. Okay, and that goes without saying. But I just wanted to put it there also, where they don't have to wait for us to provide direction. So,
and I'd also like to highlight that not all of our programs that are throughout the city can function on a continued resolution. Some of them, whether it be specific grants, some of the capital projects, right? Those are the kind of items that this may affect it. It also may affect some of our bonds. So if you just give us that extra time to look into it, to make sure that our bonds aren't affected. And let me see what else I have here.
Let me amend my motion for clarity on the capital point. Everything the same. When I say capital expenditures that are not already approved in the last quarter. So the new ones, those are the ones that are frozen. And those are the ones that have to come in. But everything else, like the day-to-day water operations, for example, continue operating on the previous budget while we make the fixes on the new stuff that is being proposed.
Okay, we should be able to go look through all of our records and make sure that none of this will be affected, and I think the 2 days will give us enough time for that.
Okay, just since we have the lawyer here, continuing resolutions are legal, broadly speaking, right? They satisfy the requirement for us to move forward with the budget.
Actually, there is no requirement for a budget.
Beautiful, even better.
Okay, but
Okay,
staff,
sorry, go ahead. The legal but.
the function of the budget is basically an authorization to staff to spend money. If you don't have a budget, staff isn't authorized to spend any money. That's why you go through the thing and you come up with a budget, and then staff, they've got their policies and procedures. They can go ahead and spend money. The problem with a continuing resolution is there's always gray area, right? Mm-hmm. What's approved and what's not approved. For cities, it's somewhat unusual to do continuing resolutions. They do it at the federal government all the time. They used to do it all the time at the state government until the people passed a proposition that said you don't get paid unless you pass a budget on time, right? And so now we've got a budget at the state level on time every time. If the other thing you can do is you can pass the budget you have before you, staff can keep going, and you can come back to the next meeting and change it, right? It's not written in stone. So, a real detailed budget really gives better direction to staff than a continuing resolution does. But on the other hand, if you're just not ready to pull the trigger, and staff has time to kind of figure out what needs to be in the continuing resolution, you can go that way. But there again, staff, the city council, you have the power and the authority to authorize expenditures, right? Staff doesn't, right? So you have to come up with something to authorize staff to do what they need to do until you've figured out exactly what you want. And so continuing resolutions that, you know, they're a little awkward, let's say, you know, and they draw attention to the, say, it's like sending up a red flag, hey, there's a problem here, right? But, I mean, if you're not ready, you're not ready. That's, you know.
Yeah, and I think that
And I also want to make sure that I mention that, not that this is, would be sending a red flag, but we do have stakeholders that are involved. I just want to make sure that, including both our citizens and our bondholders, I just want to make sure that we're sending the right message to them. And I think we got to remember that we are moving forward. Our budget and our finances have improved. I know earlier that it was stated that our budget hasn't changed, but it has. There's a reserve now. You never used to have a reserve, so that's there as well. The other thing I wanted to mention was that we approved the budget as is, right? And then when you guys got your new city manager here, you can make the first amendment within that time right away. This allows us to keep functioning, even if it's for those 2-3 weeks, until you guys come up and actually provide us with what needs to change. Because as of right now, I don't know what the issues are with why this one wouldn't pass. But I think that gives us time for us to correct anything that you want to be corrected.
I will stand by, respectfully, I will stand by my motion.
Okay.
Will I have to repeat it so that
No,
it's clear?
I think
everything
we
good?
got it, yeah.
Is there a second to the motion on the floor?
I think there's more comment.
Or discussion?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to back up with the interim city manager just said. We've given the budget, we've given briefings, and I do want for you guys to give us a motion what to do. You've been saying that we have to hear the public. You've seen the comments that we've had. But honestly, I haven't heard nothing from the council members telling me what they expect from this.
Okay.
So we gave the briefings on Wednesday, and I was hoping to hear from one of you guys giving me something, asking me for some changes or anything, and I haven't. So I do want you guys to respect the managers that they have worked so hard for this budget. And you're asking for an extension. I don't agree, I don't disagree with it, but I do want your feedback. Don't go and say, we need to do this, we need to do that, but we haven't received nothing from you guys. Because there are concerned. I know there's firefighters that are concerned that they're not going to get their COLAs, they're not going to get their uniform allowances, because all of that, it's separate and it's not from the basic payroll that they will get paid. So just keep that in mind. And please, like I've always said, my doors are open. You're all welcome to come and give me your ideas so we can make changes. Because that's what we want.
Just a brief question, because we approved a grand majority of the third quarter adjustments, right?
Yes.
So if we move forward with this budget to continue, it would be reflective of those amendments. So the firefighters will certainly get paid the amended expenditures, because that has already been put into the budget. So if we continue, firefighters surely will get paid. I will also submit that I have made extensive recommendations on staffing changes and allocations that need to get made, specifically on the planning and department side, that have not been reflected in the changes here. And I think that's a big part of why we want to continue this, because quite frankly, the budget as is, the packet, doesn't even itemize the staffing requests from the departments, if I recall. And so it's all those little.
They're the
Yeah,
FTEs.
they're all in there, yeah.
And
Okay,
one
okay,
of the that you requested was for the engineering technician to be moved to planning, and that has been done and it is reflected on the budget.
Yes, but the analyst is not.
That's something that has to be worked with human resources. I know they're on the works on that, but the positions are on the FTEs on the budget.
Okay. Yeah, and I would want to wait for human resources to make their determination to see if that is going to be an expense or if that's going to be a savings. So with that being said, I did put a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
What did you mean? ¿Qué ibas a decir? What did you mean?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. No, what I was going to say is because I heard that to hold off on capital improvement projects, and I was going to let the council know that I have several projects that are ongoing. So if there's a hold, then I will not be able to process any payment for construction projects.
That was addressed with the amended motion, so your current capital budget, operating budget, will continue to be the same. It's only the amendments and the new one that are on pause for consideration.
I think that's why she sat back down. She heard that one. She
Oh, okay,
sat
okay,
down. Yeah.
got it. We'll make sure to clarify if there's anything that needs to be approved expeditiously.
So, Raul, let me ask you, are there any specifics, concerns that you have? So that maybe we can start the conversation now. I know that, we want to include everybody, right? But at least for us to have something in mind that, what are your concerns out of this? That staff also can hear that too and work on that also, because they're going to go back and they're going to work on something that we're asking, we're putting through a motion. But the more information we give them, the more that they're going to be able to address those concerns, and that's also what I want to hear.
See, and I'll be very brief. Motion in a second on the floor. Let me just address the important one to start the discussion, because it does go to the necessity of this continuing resolution. So one of the things that I asked for 2 years ago when Miguel was here, and under Lovatos in the last 6 months was not given to me, is I have a great concern with the forecasting methods of the finance department. As you saw in the budget, they just budget 2% year annual growth. And so I don't even get to examine their forecasting methods, because what I had asked for was a digital formatted, analyzable version of the budget for the last 5 years. And that was not provided, but that is essential, especially when we're going into a recession. I want the new finance director, I want at least the new city manager to be here to help us parameterize before we make any commitments on full-time employees. Because it's dangerous to make commitments on full-time employees with surpluses like the one that we're voting on right now. But I can't begin that parameterization with current staff levels, and there's specialized knowledge that is missing that won't come in until at least July 6th. So that was my first one. I don't think the budget itself has been even accessible to me to make those detailed recommendations that you're looking for. I can nitpick at one or two things, but macro level, it's that want to parameterize the effects of the uncertain time that we're going to face from here to the end of the year, minimum.
And I hear all of that, macro level, micro, whatever you want to see, however you want to see it. And even with the current economic, conditions that we're experiencing, and we're going to continue to experience what it looks like. But also what I see is that this is more of a process, right? That we have to work on to be able to analyze, to be able to maybe be up to date and make decisions as needed or as merit based on revenues, based on expenditures, all of that. And I get that, and I couldn't agree with you more than what you're stating. But also what I want to make sure is that we look at the big picture also of having a budget where we can have the staff, continue to do what they need to do, and everything else we can work on. Remember that you invited me to work with you on this, right? And I'm still, available, and I'm still more than, willing to work with you on that. And I recall that the response that we got, that we couldn't get those, numbers and all of that in a specific example. But I think those are just very specific situations. But for now, I think we need to, again, look at the big picture. What is it that we need to do here, which is pass a budget? And then, as it has been stated, right, go back and do any necessary amendments, any necessary changes, right? A budget is a live document. It's not set in stone, and in fact, it's up to us to continue to look at this every single day, or at least every single week, So for me, even passing and then continue to make these adjustments based on the vision of the new city manager, based on the request that we're asking for staffing, for projects. But again, just for our continuous, I think it's just.
I see where you're coming from, and I think this is just two ways to skin a cat, right? Whether it's a continuing resolution or adopting then amending, we can all agree. This whole board can agree because of the times, because of the changes we want to make. We want the budget to be accessible and fluid because of the times that are coming, right? Continuing resolution or adoption then amendment, two ways to skin a cat. It does almost the same thing, provided that, and that's why, there's going to be some time taken to make the continuing resolution. But in my personal view, the only difference I see is that I feel that so little has changed. The proposed budget does change a lot of things that should not even be in discussion right now, like the $1 million to Heber Park and that kind of stuff. So it's just easier to put it on pause, say continue with the budget as is, and then make changes. I think it's just an easier project than to approve all these changes and then go back and amend and see. Does that make sense?
And like I said, it's two ways of looking at the
To
same
skin a
issue,
cat.
right?
I think it just makes more logical sense to move this way. But in the end, we're going to do the same thing.
Correct, but then we're delaying also the process, right? And a lot of these projects we're not there yet either, right? Whether it's Heber Park, I would love to see already been built, but we're not there yet. But then also, I want to make sure that we start as soon as possible. I want to make sure that every project, capital project that needs to move on, continues to move on. That there is no kind of like second guessing, am I going to be able to continue this, or do I have to bring it back to council? So that's where I'm coming from also, because it seems that, we start projects and we don't get them to the finish line. We're this close, but, at that close, right, that's where we get stuck. And that's because of this type of decisions. So, and I think Manzanares also, Mr. Manzanares alluded to previous councils, right? So I don't want to be too, and again, no disrespect to previous councils. We're here, we're looking at these things very objectively, right? And we want to make sure that, again, it's inclusive. Everybody has a chance, which they have a chance to give their feedback. But I just want to make sure that the staff has clear direction, that has clear understanding what we're doing here, and they don't feel like, I can't really make this decision, right? I can't really continue this project because I have to bring it back to council. And yes, you know me, that I'm the one that is going to be questioning, has been questioning, the expenditures, from change orders to everything else. Remember that. But I just don't want to stop, and we can always go back. We can always work on.
How about this? How about this? Since it's barely going to be written, so in the actual continuing resolution, set aside a paragraph that says exceptions. We'll just itemize exceptions on the continuing resolution. Departments will have 2 days to say, hey, no me pares this particular capital project. Don't stop this one. Don't stop this one. This will mess with functionality. Have that pretty much blank. So all the department directors and we'll put it there, and that's what we will come to an agreement and vote.
So did you want to say something?
Sorry, but could I say something? Personally, I feel that the recommendation that our city manager, our acting city manager, and our attorney is giving us, we should approve it and then do the amendments as we need to. I think that we cannot hold the city, like hostage, in other words, because we do have people that we need to work with. And remember that the budget means a lot, and we need to move forward with it. It's not to our benefit to hold on to it. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Ureña, and I think everybody has concerns, and we want the best to go out, to do the best in our community, and assign the money where it should and could be utilized more. But at this time, we need to move forward. We cannot stand still. And again, I truly recommend what our assistant city manager and of course, and our attorney are advising us. But then, you know, we all have our different opinion.
Okay, thank you. Servicio, you want to say something?
This microphone.
Yeah, that one's shorting out again. Right?
This way, this way.
Oh, okay.
So, thank you for the conversation you guys are having, because this budget is very important. Things that, my name is Ismael Arvizu, 1004 Posada Drive, Calexico. I'd like to thank you guys for talking so much on the budget, because if it was like a 10-minute meeting, I wouldn't have enjoyed that. Pero, things that I would like to know is, like, why we follow the same budgets, que sí se entiende, porque we have to pay the same expenditures throughout the years, pero I like to see it change in something. Sure, the park is very good, and I'm very excited for that, pero from meetings that I saw last week, I was a bit concerned. I don't want to put you on the spot, Favila, but I am.
Go ahead.
With the whole ARPA funds, I got really scared when talking about new guns, new bullets, when we already had those funds allocated somewhere else. And I appreciate you, all the work you do, but a lot of times it's like I don't know, from experience with Miguel Figueroa, pues como el city manager no puede decir tanto, pero I know you have a very large influence into the council because you do the work, you know. Pero sí, I think 2 days, I don't know how the city will work with those 2 days of looking back into the budget, but I don't think it's going to kill it, that's for sure. Pero I would really appreciate if we think more about the people that need money. Como pues, like I said, I've been saying it for months now, like we still have no pues safe watering, cooling stations that I know of, right? I think maybe the fire station might be one, pero I'm looking forward into how this new budget that can come out in 2 days, maybe a couple thousands could be sent somewhere that can help the community directly as compared as indirectly through cops or whatever. But I'm a little scared if you guys would pass it completely y luego decir, no, pues we'll fix it later, because, you know, sometimes we might not get to those points. So, pues el burro trabaja doble, como me dice mi mamá. So, if we get the work done this week, maybe, we don't have to wait till the next city manager comes y todo eso. Because, I mean, she still has to adjust, you know, igual, she's going to come in and start working, I know that. Pero I support that you guys wait those 2 days and look into any funds that could be saved to be put into more promising / holistic help to the people. And I'm always going to be asking for public restrooms y todo eso. And these ARPA funds, como pues, I'm really disconnected with what's going on right now, pero I know ARPA funds have been approved for the pool, with the paychecks for the city. So if we can get those ARPA funds moving, I know it's going to be a way better process for this budget to also be moving, right? So, yeah, honestly, I just commend y'all for being in this meeting, más que nada. And hopefully we have another meeting on Thursday. Pero, yeah, I like to see that budget be used more, what's the word? More respectfully, yeah. So, thank you, Mr. Raul. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Andres Hernandez. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for having me. My name is Andres Jose Hernandez Carrera, 1204 David Navarro Avenue. I just came back from San Diego the past 3 months living in Imperial Beach, studying, and I came back to actually try to set up my life here again from what I did 3 months ago. I'm also part of Collection Need Change, CNC, and Broadband Coalition headed by Maribel Padilla. Sadly, she couldn't be here because she's setting up for a feeding tonight at 7 at the Border Park. If we would like to have you there too. Moving on to what Mr. Arvizu, Mr. Ureña, my good gentleman right here next to you, I apologize, I can't see your name. Certain comments regarding, yes, recessionary. if we're going into a recession, how much are these funds going to be divided up even? Besides, aren't you supposed to shrink a budget in a recession? But that's impossible, right? How impossible is it to shrink a budget and keep a city functioning, but also divert funds to the proper infrastructure, water management, clean parks, clean streets, but also maybe there's also a limitation because, of course, much of the economic function comes from downtown, and in theory, in past meetings from what I hear, fixing up the infrastructure would theoretically make that portion of the town better and economically functional. Because more people cross through that area than, let's say, you yourself would cross from here to El Centro, here to Imperial. There's millions upon millions of people in that. But over time, we wore away our management. We wore away our people. The budget is one little fight in a large stew. Right now we're in a stew and we're just going down the drain. But that has nothing to do with individuals here. It has more to do with how we all feel. And I'm just gonna tell you that people are feeling down, people are feeling negative, people are feeling disgruntled at all these little things and all these little micromanagements on the budget, because we realistically, in my mind, can't even shrink it, right? There's no way to shrink it without an all political faction war going on within offices, within departments, whether that be police administration, medical centers, healthcare centers. There's already a division between leaders from one department to the next, and where does that center over? Who's getting the most for their department, who's getting the most for their infrastructure and for their policy to get passed on the budget? That in itself is a battle, an unconscious battle and a mental between each of you. But realistically, if the budget can, as Mr. Arbizu said, be redacted, be taken care of, be minutely discredited, discontinued, or at this point, reform and remend what we have here. Yet, you can also keep certain portions that would help the most people. But at the same time, these employees, the people who actually get the work done, can we pay for the full-time positions, as you said before? How many more part-time individuals would you like on the board? How many more volunteers would you want to get into internships here? Not just from the colleges, like these high schools, these elementaries. How active do you want this public if you don't give them the opportunity to? How many of you want high schoolers? How many of you want college students in your offices as interns? How many of you need help? Put out the advertisements, put them out, and I will tell you, we will volunteer. Me, myself included, even if I'm applying to paid positions, because government is what government is, and we don't do our parts. Even myself, it wears away, as we all are experiencing, not just this office, but these offices all across the United States, and it's gonna fall. We're not gonna fall, because that's what we're already doing to each other. I rest myself.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Roll call?
Mayor Moreno?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
No.
Councilmember Arroyo Hernandez? Councilmember Ureña? Councilmember Ramos? Yes. 3-2.
Thank you. And now we have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Mr. Garcia. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned at 6 o'clock.